Welcome back. In India, marriages are often seen as sharing dreams, sharing futures, and most notably, sharing the same bedroom. God forbid if anyone finds out that a couple is sleeping in separate rooms, it could trigger a wave of high tawbah and speculations. Family members, elders, even sometimes neighbors would start wondering what is wrong, offering suggestions like have a baby, take time off work, and whatnot. But here's the truth. In today's world, taking time off each other can also be a healthy choice. In fact, it's a trend that many are embracing, especially in India. Turns out that 78% of Indians, that is 3 out of every 4 Indians, or at least married Indian, are now opting for self-love over the love of their lives. Yes, couples across India are realizing that while their partner may be their soulmate, they don't necessarily need to be their sleeping mate. With growing awareness about the importance of quality sleep, a global sleep study has revealed a startling crisis that over 70% of Indian couples are embracing what is called sleep divorce, which simply means choosing to sleep separately from your partner in order to improve their quality of rest. According to ResMed's 2005 Global Sleep Survey, India leads this trend with 78% of couples opting for sleep divorce, followed by China at 67% and South Korea at 65%. But what's the trigger? Why are couples choosing couches over cuddling with their partners? It seems that snoring, screen time, mismatched schedules are the main culprits. While sleeping apart may sound like a red flag in a marriage, the studies suggest that for many, it's actually improving sleep quality and even strengthening their bond. In fact, it's not just Indians. This is a trend that's going on in America. 29% of Americans, or 1 in 3 couples, have preferred to sleep in separate beds. Even Hollywood stars like Cameron Diaz have spoken out in favor of sleep divorce, stating that love shouldn't stand in the way of a good night's snooze. While the study suggests that couples who sleep sleep separately have better sleep quality and are often stronger, more stable relationships, including perhaps a better intimate life. Sleep experts, on the other hand, have focused on the benefits of sleeping together. They say that sharing a bed releases oxytocin, which is the love hormone that can reduce anxiety and stress while boosting relationship satisfaction. And it can actually increase communication between partners without speaking. So here's the big question. Is sleep divorce the key to deeper connection, or does it reveal cracks in the foundation of a relationship? Is choosing self-care over co-sleeping a sign of personal growth or a sign of growing distance? I'm asking these questions to my guests tonight, Lalita Kumara Mangalam, former chairperson of NCW, and Rekha Agarwal, family lawyer. Do stay on with us. But I'm also being joined by 2 eminent experts in the field. Dr. Bhavna Barmi is a clinical psychologist, and Dr. Harish Shetty is a noted psychiatrist. Thank you all for joining me at this point. Harish Shetty, you are the first, male who has joined me all day on this urban debate. So thank you. And probably today I'll make an exception. I'll say men first. So I'll start with you, Harish Shetty. Is this something that is new? I mean, to me, it was a new phenomenon. I'd never heard or never thought about sleep divorces. But as someone who's a psychiatrist, have you come across cases where either couples have decided that sleeping separately for whatever reasons is good for their family life, or maybe they've required you to suggest that maybe, take some time off, sleep in different rooms, and maybe catch up on your sleep?
Absolutely not. I think this is not new at all. It's there for many years. It has many reasons. One is sleeping together causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of hostility, and a lot of anger because there are many issues between them. And what they actually follow is divided in bed, but united in parenting. And that is something they are very happy about. Also, it brings down the stigma. Divorce causes stigma. Staying under the same roof and attending marriages and functions but sleeping in separate rooms brings down the stigma. It also gives you a chance that maybe in the future you might come back together. You might find some common grounds to meet and sleep. Fourthly, the children feel that the parents are not separated. They are just sleeping away from each other. There's no conflict, there's no war, and emotional development of the children are not affected because there's no conflict, war, or even exchange of abuses or expletives. So it is somewhere between marriage and a divorce. And that is an adjustment for a lot of couples now. Some of them sleep in separate flats, but they do not take a divorce in front of the society. They attend all functions, festivals, marriages, and in the front of the world, they show that they're completely united. What is also very important for everybody to understand, that kids need one healthy parent. And the health of both the parents improve when they sleep away from each other, because it brings down a lot of acrimony, a lot of conflict. Distance also causes a lot of peace. Distance, which means between one, a wall in between both of them, also brings about some amount of peace, helps them, helps the children. Ultimately, in life, in a marriage, it's not happiness they're looking for. Nobody's looking for happiness. A large number of us are looking for peace, and happiness is a byproduct of peace.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can't probably buy happiness, but perhaps you can probably get peace. Lalita Kumar Mangalam, as if I dare say, as the traditionalist on this panel, what do you make of this? Because what Mr. Harish Shetty has pointed out was actually I think we're having some connection a problem connecting with Lalita Kumar Mangalam, but I'll also put this across to Rekha Agarwal. Rekha ji, the interpretation which, or at least the side of sleeping divorces which Dr. Harish Shetty pointed out is also something which I thought of, but not mentioned in the survey, is that people or couples often sleep together not just to catch up on sleeping time because of different schedules, or because the partner is snoring a lot, or because the child needs a parent to cuddle with them. Sometimes they're also toxic, broken families, or at least there is a relationship or a marriage that is broken down to a point where you don't necessarily feel that need for physical intimacy, but you also don't want to reach a level of divorce for various factors: social stigma, possibly the point of children being around, maybe
Yes.
even the hope of reconciliation. Is this something that is perhaps a welcome trend because it gives couples an outlet to take some time out and address these
Uh,
issues?
Yes, I think Dr. Harish Shetty has really kind of nailed it by saying that yes, this is what certain social expectations may, a couple may decide voluntarily, and it may be a very conscious decision to kind of live in stay in separate bedrooms and not take a divorce. Now, I think that as the old saying goes, that distance leads to enchantment, and it also says that distance leads to detachment. It kind of increases the distance. So I think that there can be no straight answer to this. It will depend upon whether it is a conscious choice. If it is a conscious choice, and the couple feels that yes, they could have a better quality of life, where nowadays I think that more and more the times
Hmm.
have changed, where self love, as you use the word, has increased a lot. Well, as I say, quality time, what about me time, these new concepts which are these new terms which are there, especially which are used by generation Z, that what about me, what about myself. So as far as my generation would go, I'm old now, I think, but in our generation there was no such concept of myself. I, myself, me, it was always family, family, family. And it was, if you're married, you're married forever. So and if a couple was separated or living staying together in separate bedrooms, not sharing the same bed, whether they were having physical relationship or not, the very fact that if a husband and wife are living in separate bedrooms, probably a few years ago, that would be a big kind of a scandalous thing for people to talk about, even the family members and neighbors, as you said. But having said that, I think that now more and more the times are changing. Quality time, good
But
life,
I
good
can
peace of mind, particularly in metro cities, where women are also working, and they're spending long hours at work, where they're traveling. I think in such kind of situations, even if a couple are decide to have separate bedrooms and have a good life, I don't think there can be anything wrong in that. But yes, if a particular spouse decides to have a separate bedroom because he or she is not getting along with the other spouse, yes, that can definitely lead to a legal divorce. That can be a step. I remember a very old case which we had studied in the honorable
okay.
in a law college, which is called Dastani versus Dastani, where a couple was separated for a number of years. And on one fine day, they met at a marriage and they slept together. And so the one spouse said that the wife said, "Oh, you slept with me, you had sex with me. So therefore, you cannot sue me for divorce on the ground of mental and physical cruelty having slept together." So the court in that particular case, the Supreme Court had opined that cohabitation is a very integral part of a fulfilled and complete married life. Now, if either of the spouses in such a case of that we're talking about is denying physical intimacy, the right of cohabitation, the intimacy, the physical love, and the emotional bonding which is there when a couple has sex, and they sleep together. So if either of the spouses is doing it deliberately because she cannot she has got no emotional feeling left for her spouse. Supposing we're talking about a wife who decides to sleep separately because she just doesn't get along with her husband.
I understand
So
your
it's
point,
not
Rekha ji.
that it's a conscious decision because
I
she doesn't
understand your
want, she
point,
can't stand this pain, etc. That of course cannot
but
be a
I
sleep divorce.
understand.
I
So
think they are heading for
there
a
are
proper sleep
various
divorce.
aspects of a dimension. There is of course a failed marriage, and
Yes.
anecdotally I can say, Rekha ji, that my first responses when I heard was yes, I connected it to several of my people in my extended family and people I've known before, not of my generation, my parents' generation, who often sleep separately just for the sake of convenience. But Lalita Kumar Mangalam, the point is that yes, there are a lot of people, even today when we were discussing in the newsroom, I have a late evening shift here. My spouse might have an early morning shift, and it's unfair for her to be disturbed when I go in tonight to sleep, or for me to be woken up early in the morning if my partner decides to go up. Do you get this sense of me time with Rekhaji was pointing out, which prioritizes an individual sense of satisfaction and contentment in a day, in a situation, in an environment like today, where anyway getting some time out for oneself is always a challenge?
Look, I think in one point I agree with Rekha ji. We are from a different generation. So for us, we were always taught marriage is the be all and end all, etc., etc. Let me say that, and one thing, I'm not at all a traditionalist. What I am at my age is today a practicalist. I understand that life, can change very suddenly and very strangely. Young women nowadays, not just young, perhaps even not so young women, as Rekha ji correctly pointed out, have more priorities than just their marriage. And also, sex is not the only most important thing in a marriage. Let's be very frank. Yes, if a partner is denying sex to a wife or a husband, that's a different question altogether. But if for convenience's sake, whether the convenience is because they don't want to upset their children's life. Remember, let's not forget that children get very, very badly, often very badly affected if their parents are not on good terms. So if the parents feel that children come first, or any other member of their extended family, and therefore they would rather stay in the same house, but not really all the time be in the same bedroom. They want their independence as well as they want to keep the relationship going. Then I don't think there's anything wrong. This is something that I really feel is a very private factor for a couple that may be doing this. Right or wrong, I don't think it's correct of me to even try to judge them. Every marriage has its good and its bad.
Absolutely.
Every marriage, both partners may have made mistakes, may decide to forgive, may decide we can't get along. It's really up to them to decide. But this term sleep divorce to me sounds very strange. In fact, quite repugnant, because sleep and sex are not the only thing. I said this before, in a marriage. There's so much more to a marriage than just sexual affection for each other. There's loyalty, there's children, there's family, there's
Agree. It's a
finance.
bit of
I
a
mean, I can go
clickbait.
on and on and
It's a
on.
bit of a clickbait, Lalita ji, and gives a necessarily negative connotation, but for what it's worth, that's what the term is called, which is why
No,
we
I
felt it was
know.
important to
I know.
explain and have a
That may
proper
be so.
understanding of it. Dr.
Yeah,
Bab,
that may be
Doc,
so, but
Dr.
I
Bhavna
don't
Bhavni,
think
you're a
that
clinical
we should
psychologist.
make such a big deal of it.
No. It's just understanding a term. Dr. Bharmi, you're a clinical psychologist. Sorry to keep you waiting, but I'm coming to you for the last word. At the end of the day, it's all about Mia Bibi Razi to kya kare kazi. There is a societal stigma, as Lalita ji and Rekha ji have pointed out, that if often in-laws or parents get to know that the couple is sleeping together separately, alarm bells will start ringing. And in some cases, maybe alarm bells should ring because the marriage is breaking down. But ultimately, it depends on the comfort level of a couple, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Let me just clarify, what is this sleep divorce? Especially in modern relationships, this concept of sleep divorce is becoming more common and even more acceptable. So it refers to basically couples choosing, and the word is choosing, to sleep separately, either in different beds or even separate rooms, while continuing to stay in this relationship. Now, sleep divorce is when we are consciously deciding, why are we sleeping apart? Is it due to personal comfort, lifestyle differences, or an emotional non-connect or conflict, or due to other reasons? So, if this sleep divorce is due to functional reasons, like we were all discussing, it could be different sleep schedules of the partners, snoring and sleep disorders, different sleep preferences, work and lifestyle differences, like we discussed, children and parenting needs, it is functional and it is a happy, healthy marriage. of which sleep divorce is a part of a functionality. But if there are emotional or relationship conflicts, sometimes underlying relationship issues, unresolved fights can lead to sleeping apart, which can be a course of emotional distancing and thereby run down a marriage. So what is very important is to work on the actualities of this sleep divorce and keeping the relationship strong. Since sleeping separately can impact emotional connection, couples should take few active steps, which I'll quickly briefly say. One is an open communication. Talk about why you need separate sleeping arrangements and ensure that both the partners agree. Secondly, there are ways of maintaining emotional and physical intimacy. Just because you sleep separately does not mean romance should fade out. Find your time for that intimacy. Thirdly, maybe we can create shared bedtime rituals. Even if you don't sleep at the same time, try reading together, sharing a cup of tea, or talking before bed. So a lot of this need not lead to emotional distance, which eventually may lead to more marital disharmony. So I think using sleep divorce as a functionality is much more worthwhile than letting it distance the couple.
I have two very quick questions and I'll go to my two experts for joining me, but please give your answers in just 30 seconds to 1 minute because we're running short of time. Dr. Harish Shetty, how would you decide which couples you would advise sleep divorce to, or what cases would you not advise sleep divorce? Because as we have pointed out, there are several psychological and medical benefits also of sleeping together when it comes to enhancing bonding between couples.
Warring couples who have a lot of fights between them, we might advise stay away from each other for some time, reflect on what you think and what you feel, and then come back and decide whether you want to stay together or you want to leave. That is number one. Now, sometimes there are small issues of I have to work on my laptop a little later than what you do. I have to actually play games on the laptop and it helps me calm down. I would say stay away from each other. Hold on to your jobs the way you would want to and see to it that you sleep aside. If one of them says, I do not want to sleep alone, I would like to sleep together, and this is not helping me, then we do not advise sleeping away from each other. At the same time, when kids, small kids, if there are kids age 3 and 2, and they said, no, mommy, papa, you should sleep together because we love both of you on the bed along with us, then we do not advise sleeping away. Then if there's a chance, if there's a lot of violence, and a lot of violence and a lot of cases in the court.
I think there are two takeaways I get from this discussion. There are two takeaways that we get from this discussion is that any decision to sleep together separately has to be consensual and only brought down to the two people in the relationship, that is the husband and the wife. Secondly, perhaps as guests have pointed out, sleep divorce is a negative term, gives a negative connotation. If sometimes taking some time apart makes your relationship healthier, why call it divorce, which signifies the end of a relationship? Thank you so much, Dr. Harish Shetty, Dr. Bhavna Bami, and also Lalita ji and Rekha ji for staying with us through this debate. It's been quite an interesting debate of the urban debate here. I'm not sure whether I'm a bit embarrassed because my parents are watching. But for now, it's time for a short commercial. On the other side, my colleague Shreya Upadhyay joins you with The Nation Tonight and with Global Mirror.